I'm always torn, and I am torn with my monthly Audible subscription, and I'm reconsidering it now because for
I'm
that $16 a month, I can just buy an audiobook CD every month.
When you pay 16, how many credits do you get?
One.
Okay, so they don't have the 2 credit option anymore, do they?
I don't know. Not
So
that I
back
know
in
of.
the day when Audible was independent of Amazon,
Hmm.
they had like you could upgrade your subscription. Like you could pay for the 1 credit, you could pay for 2 credit, and you could pay for 4 credit or some stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they even had for a long time. They even had ones where you could pay extra and you'd get extra credits each month.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you can
but
buy 3 for like $35.
yeah, yeah, and I so like I got grandfathered in using with the old plan, and so
Nice.
like I paid $22 a month and I get 2 credits a month.
Okay.
So like I'm not getting rid of that right now.
Hmm.
However, like you, I am considering getting rid of it because like there's other programs out there that you can use. Like there's Libby. Libby is really good. Not Libby. Yeah, it is. I think it is Libby. Yeah, Libby. Libby's really good because you can hook into your public library or a public library, and you can get all of your books for free through the public library through
Oh.
Libby. And it's like that's really good. I like
Oh.
it. It's a good program. There's also Scribd, SCRIBD. No, they don't allow it on my work computer. Oh well. Scribd is pretty good. They are like they're a lot cheaper than they're a lot cheaper than
Audible.
Audible. They have
Okay.
a few less than Audible, but at the same time they're a lot cheaper.
Okay.
Like here, here's a question. Um, is Scribd actually unlimited? Scribd lets you listen to, read, or access any of its digital books, audiobooks, magazines, and more as much as you want for as long as you are in a free trial or paid subscription. Some titles are available only at certain times, however, but you can still always find plenty to listen to. If not, I wouldn't be paying for it. That's what this person is saying, and it's $9.99.
Yeah.
It's really good. So it's just awesome. That's just it. Like I really think Scribd is a phenomenal option for people. So I like it. But like it's like all these things. There's so many alternatives and stuff. And what I was listening to a clip from a podcast yesterday that the guy made a really good point, and they were talking about art and why essentially what's going on with people is that the conservatives are screaming about these okay, so let's take Target for example. Okay, Target. I have a Target right across the street from me. All right,
Yep.
and Target recently came under fire because of their essentially their Pride children's line. I'm not going to go into the details because it just creeps me out.
Hmm.
Long and short of it is it's pretty disgusting what they did and what they
Hmm.
came out with.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of conservatives are screaming boycott Target. And a lot of people are boycotting Target. It's the same with the whole Miller Lite
I'm
fiasco.
boycotting both Target and Budweiser.
I assume because there is none there.
Well, that might be aside from the point, but that's
I
true. There
support
is
you
none.
in your boycott.
Thank you. That emotional support's going to help me get through this.
Yep, you need that. You absolutely need the emotional support. I think it's important. The guy made a really good point. He's like, okay, so everybody's going to boycott Bud Light now. Everybody's boycotting Budweiser. But he's like, but what's the alternative? He comes out and says that he's like, it's great that we are boycotting these things, but he's like, what's the alternative? What's the brand? What's the, like, give me a beer alternative to Bud Light to drink. Like, a part of the reason why people drank Bud Light is it's not so much that it like tasted good or anything. It was cheap. Like, a lot of the rednecks that were the ones who were always buying it, they bought it because it was cheap. It's not like they were buying it for its taste or anything. It was just a cheap way to get alcohol into them. I'm definitely simplifying this like crazy, but whatever.
Hmm.
Anyway, so but the guy makes a really good point. He's like, okay, cool, you want to call for boycotts of Bud Light? That's great, but what's the alternative? And it's the same thing in my opinion about Target. It's like, okay, you want me to boycott Target, but what's the alternative? The thing for me with Target is that it's like it's a cheap place. It's a semi cheap place for me to go and get uh, home decor, semi cheap. Personally, I prefer Hobby Lobby for some of the home decor out there, but that's because I know the values of that company. The problem for me is that, hey, guess what? There is no Hobby Lobby. The nearest one is 2 hours away. I can't go to Hobby Lobby. I can try and order online, but I prefer going in person. So, but like with Target, it's like it's right there. It's across the street from me. So if you want me to boycott Target because of something that they did, you need to provide me with an alternative. And I will tell you straight up, Walmart is not good. They've been horrible as well. They've been doing all of this stuff for years as well. And so Walmart is not an alternative. And it's like my dad and stepmom like to talk about boycotting stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go and boycott that stuff. But what are the alternatives? And the like I was saying, like this podcast, he's like pointing out very much like, you want people to boycott things, we need to be providing alternatives. We need to be like, we want people to boycott Disney. Great, that's wonderful. We need to provide alternative entertainment to boycott Disney.
Hmm.
So, and that's what the guy that's why that guy was on that podcast, because he was providing an alternative to the comic book industry because he was creating his own comic books and things like that. And he's like, these are comic books that don't hit your values essentially. So
Hmm.
that's so that's I don't know. I don't know what to say other than, yeah, that's what people are doing and things like that. And it's like, come on, let's just, yeah.
You so I guess I'm going to be the douche in the show.
Go for
There
it.
are great cheap options to Budweiser.
Yes.
There's a lot of them. So that's super lame argument. There's even a lot of them just that no smart enough just to shut up and not play politics. There's enough local breweries that sell cheap beer locally, and you can support the local economy. And it
Well,
doesn't
yeah.
take a whole hell of a lot of research,
Right.
right? So you're not going to be hurting your life so much that to take a couple hours to look around and see what's a good local company to support. And that's kind of green, right? So you can even say you're
Well,
eco
so
friendly. And
I
finally,
will.
just spend a few extra cents and support somebody in the economy that's making stuff and stop supporting China, right?
That's
If you
true.
care, right? If you just think about it a little bit, right? I'm not making fun of China. I love Chinese people. And I don't even care about all that stuff. I don't even make fun of China for the Wuhan labs because that was maybe even us doing that anyways, right?
It seems like
So
that.
there seems to be some proof of that. But I'm not a scientist, so I don't know. uh, but, anyways, so I think there's so many options out there, and it doesn't take a lot of mental exercise or exhaustion to come up with some good solutions
Uh-huh.
that destroy that argument.
Well, and so in that, I agree with I agree with what you're saying, and I under and when I can't, like sometimes I'll get on Etsy and I'll go on to Etsy and buy some decor and stuff to support small businesses and things like that. I like that.
Hmm.
But the part of the problem become part of the difficulty that with the arguments that people have of, well, go and support your local stores and stuff. Well, let me put it this way. I I generally like comic books. I'd like to go and buy comic books and get into comic books and stuff. Now, the difficulty for me is my local comic book store. I only have one local comic book store. Um, and the thing is, they required masks in their comic book store all the way up until this year. Like at some point in the last 6 months, they finally dropped the masking requirement. This guy is like needy right now. So, right, needy, go away, needy. So the difficulty at that point becomes, okay, that's great. I want to go and support my local economy, but I live in an area that is very, very much against me. So a lot of the local stores, you like, there's a wonderful local store with some really cool home decor and stuff, and it is so feminist. It is so anti everything that I would stand for and stuff. Now, granted, I haven't bought anything in there because of that, but I would like to. So the whole thing is, or the whole point, I guess I'm saying is, it's like I agree. I absolutely agree. But when you are in an area where when you are surrounded with a lot of people who do not, who essentially hate you and your values, it's difficult to sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to actually start trying to figure this out. And that's part of my argument against people who go and say, well, boycott Target. Okay, cool, great. Why are you boycotting Target? Okay, you're boycotting them because they support LGBTs. Okay, cool. Cool, great. All right. Have you stopped going to Walmart? Have you stopped going to Kroger? Have you stopped going to Giant? Have you stopped going to Whole Foods? Have you stopped going to Aldi? Have you stopped going to all of these grocery stores? Have you stopped doing this? Have you stopped doing that? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like the problem when you sit there and you take a stance and say, I am boycotting this thing because of this. The question that always comes up at that point is, okay, are you applying that consistently? Now, I'm not arguing that you have to apply it consistently, because I don't think you do. I'm just saying you need to think through that a little bit more, and understand, and be like, okay, I am not going to apply, like, I am not going to target very specific for a very specific reason. And it's because they started putting all these things to kids. Um, I, I don't try to boycott stores and stuff on the most part, because for me it is exhausting to try and do exactly what you said, which is honestly something that I try to keep an eye out for. Like, I try to keep an eye out for stores and places and stuff that do support the values that I have, and at the same time also wanting to go and support the local stores and things like that. Like, it's also kind of like on top of that, where, so one of the things that you do when you go and you shop at a big box store is you are actually supporting a local economy, or the local economy, because what you're doing when you put your money into that big box store in that area is that you're sending a signal to the big corporate people, that this store is worth keeping in your area. And then you also have to consider that that store employs probably over 100 people within your area, 100 people who, if that store leaves, would be without a job. So if that store leaves, and you're because everybody's boycotting it and wants it out of there, what about those 100 people who are working at that store just trying to make it by. Now it's an interesting argument. I don't necessarily like hold to that wholeheartedly, but
I don't think I could even hold to that half-ass.
I hold it because it's like, I know where the money's going, but at the same time I also don't want the like some I don't want people I don't want the store to close or certain stores to close down in my area because I know that they employ people, and it's like, I really want those people to be employed, but at the same time I'm like, I don't want that to be my main decision for why I go and shop in that place. It's just,
Do you remember what it was like before Walmart's?
oh yes, oh yes,
There was lots of little
absolutely.
shops for all kinds of stuff. You could
Yep.
find everything. The price wasn't much different.
Yep.
It was a little bit more.
It's always a little more than what Walmart
Yeah, it was definitely a
charges.
little more. But they were mostly owned by people in the community,
Yes.
and the money got spent there.
Yes.
So you say you don't keep nearly as much money in your community as you do when you have the small shops, right? I mean, it really multiplies the value of the money that you spend in one place, and it comes back around in taxes and all kinds of ways. On
Well,
top of
and
that, these big box shops don't normally pay any taxes. Do they?
because it ends up boosting the city economy for a little bit.
Well, it doesn't, but it looks like it does.
That's what I'm saying. It does for a little bit, and then it doesn't. Like there's a point where there's a point of diminishing returns because it really boosts the city right at the beginning, because when they come in, they do a massive hiring spree, and so then it
Yeah.
drops down. It drops the what do you call it, unemployment rate, which then increases the local tax
Yes.
collection. However, it all ends up coming out in the wash in the long run, because that company, like you said, is not necessarily paying taxes like to
Well,
the
yeah, they're not
local
paying
economy.
taxes. All the small companies are going to close around it,
Yes.
and the money that they make doesn't get reinvested in the area.
Yes.
Generally, they do some symbolic stuff, right?
They always do symbolic stuff.
Right, but it's really symbolic compared to the money that's going out of the community. So I would say it's such a lazy perspective to do with it. It shouldn't be addressed. So I'm guessing I probably just lost Walmart's funding.